LGBTQ. It's an acronym that means lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning individuals. Yes, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, CPO said queer. I'm a 70s kid, 70s, 80s kid. Queer in my generation meant something completely different. I was shocked when I was meeting with a member of the LGBTQ community and they said queer was actually okay. It's queer or questioning. This term is used to describe sexual orientation and or gender identity of individuals. What is lesbian? An individual identifies as a woman who's predominantly sexually or romantically attracted to other women. Gay. Individual who identifies as a man who's predominantly sexually or romantically attracted to other men. Bisexual. Individual who's sexually or romantically attracted to both men and women. Transgender. An individual whose gender identity or expression is different from their assigned sex. Queer. An individual who does not identify as a gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender individual, but rather has a fluid sexual orientation or gender identity. Questioning. Individual who is unsure about his or her sexual orientation or gender identity. It's estimated the LGBTQ community make up anywhere from 3 to 5% of the total U.S. population. People who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender include all races and ethnicities and ages, social and economic groups, and come from all parts of the United States. Are there challenges for the LGBTQ community? Yes. Studies have indicated individuals from these communities are disproportionately more likely to be victims of a crime. In its report of hate crimes, the FBI Bureau of Statistics found for single bias crimes versus those crimes involving more than one protected category, 17.7% of victims were targeted because of the bias against their sexual or perceived sexual orientation. National Transgender Discrimination Study administered a national sample of transgender and gender nonconforming study participants found that more than 3/4 of those surveyed were harassed in school, over half which reported being verbally harassed in public. Notable, 8% of respondents to the NTDS survey reported being physically attacked or assaulted in cases of public accommodation. What's it all mean? It means that law enforcement must be better educated in issues affecting the community in order to appropriately and effectively serve them. Knowledge and understanding is the first step in establishing rapport, building trust in the community with law enforcement victims and witnesses. One area where there may be a conflict as a result of misinformation, misunderstanding of law enforcement interaction with transgender community. In ever-evolving society, police officers will have more and more interactions with individuals who associate themselves as transgender. Due to a history of perceived or actual bias, profiling, and abuse, it's not uncommon for transgender individuals who actually fear police. Feelings of mistrust or discrimination can occur solely because of language used. This may include a lack of understanding of terminology related to the transgender community. I am at a police academy most of my time teaching. This is 198 training for the year, 198. So, at a police academy, it's always sir and ma'am. Now the person is transgender. Holy crap! Is it sir? Is it ma'am? Does it not compute? What do we do? Thank you. Ask. People won't be offended. Sometimes, quizzes from heart is a straight line. Ask individuals. They will not be offended. Transgender individuals are persons whose gender identity or expression is different from their assigned sex. Generally, transgender individuals, transgender or gender non-conforming people, have an inner sense of identity that does not match their assigned birth. What's this mean? Although transgender and trans are considered acceptable terms for non-transgender individuals to use, some individuals may prefer to be recognized as a man or a woman. Okay, hypothetical purposes only. I am Rob Sepio, I am a male. For hypothetical purposes, however, to make the point, I now want to express as a female. I want to be known as Roberta Sepio. Roberta Sepio. Ma'am, you have a law enforcement action with me. You ask me for my name, license, registration, and I say my name is Roberta Sepio. My license says Robert Sepio. Holy crap, are you charging me with obstruction of justice? Did I just obstruct justice? I am the law! Man, how are you going to actually, associate? How are you going to, it's going to be robbed or is it going to be reverted? Ask questions about it. Okay, ask the question, how do you want to be known as? Roberta. What's the word we're going to use now? Roberta. Scipio. For hypothetical purposes only. Get the idea. Ask the person how they want to identify. Ma'am, sir. Ask them what their name they want to be known as. Use the name. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. With regards to, here are some gender-specific terms officers should be aware of. Non-birth name that a transgender individual uses. This, in fact, may not be their individual name, as we talked about. Their identity that they give may not be the name they give you. It is not obstruction. Assigned sex, biological, anatomical characteristics of an individual as a male or female at birth. Gender expression, the external characteristics that behavior are socially viewed as masculine or feminine. Gender expression is how a person represents and communicates their gender to others, often through clothing, hairstyle, voice, mannerisms, or physical characteristics. Gender identity, a person's internal sense of gender, which can be different from one's assigned sex. Gender nonconforming, this is a term used to describe individuals whose gender expression, gender characteristics, or gender identity is different from conventional social expectations of masculinity or femininity. Person's physical, romantic, or sexual orientation is the person's physical, sexual, or emotional attraction to members of the same gender. It may operate separately from gender identity. Transgender, male, woman, or male to female. A person who is assigned as a male at birth identifies as a woman, or who is a female at birth who identifies as a man. The best way to build trust in the transgender community is through respect, understanding, some helpful tips including proper pronoun, the terminology we discussed, respecting the transgender's personal identity of expression. When a person self-identifies as a transgender, respect the stated gender, address them as their adopted or chosen name. Use the appropriate pronouns with regards to he, she as they identify themselves with. When in doubt, ask clarifying questions. How would you like to be addressed? What name would you like me to call you? All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Searches. I have a search incident to valid arrest of a person who is transgender. Is there an Attorney General directive on this? Answer, no. Not yet. There may be, not yet. As we stand here today, not yet. What I'm going to talk to you is best practices. Best practices. In your packet, we provide NYPD best practices, Department of Corrections best practices. That's done. Generally, best practices, what are we recommending based upon the group that we have? If a male identifies as a female, and it's a non-emergent situation, then a female should do the pat-down. If a male identifies as a female, and it's a non-emergent situation, then a female, same thing, has to, should identify, should do. Whatever the person identifies as is the sex that identify as, that sex of the officer should do the search in a non-emergent situation. That is best practices. That is what we're recommending. I'll let that marinate for a while. With regards to searches, and by the way, we are not, please, for the love of God, we're not talking about strip searches. We're not talking about strip searches and that best practice. All we're talking about is doing pat-downs in those instances, doing searches incident to arrest. Invasive searches should never be used for the sole purposes of identifying a person's assigned sex either. Our knowledge, but